In this video, we'll be talking about our final thoughts of the Quest 2, and let's get into it. Before we start this video, like always, I want to shout out and say thank you to JBrat for letting us borrow the Quest 2 and the accessories that make it so we can make these videos. We also have other videos of the Quest 2, which I'll link down in the description, and there'll be a playlist with the 2 videos, I believe, that we've done so far, and let's get into it. So like in the other videos, I'm going to talk about the software, then the hardware, and some pricing around different headsets and stuff that I have or paid for, as well as the Quest, which I didn't pay for. So let's go ahead and start with software. The biggest issue that comes up is that you have to log in through a Facebook Meta account to Oculus, which I don't know if they're going to change the name of that, but that is the biggest issue. You have to actually buy the games through that account, and they're locked into their hardware. And like I showed in the connecting it to a PC video that I did previously, that's the only way you can get Steam games to work. So you can't actually use the headset standalone and play Steam games, but you can do wireless and connect to the PC wirelessly or through a wire and be able to play them. It's just a weird little thing that you have to get used to. Of maybe you'll buy Beat Saber twice because you want it both standalone and connect to the PC, depending on where you want to play it. There's also a possibility that it is cross-buy, which you can buy it on the Oculus Store and get it both standalone on the headset as well as on PC, and they call it like the Rift version, and so you'll be able to play those. So that's kind of a workaround for that. But if you have another headset that is not an Oculus product or Meta or whatever it's called now, and you won't be able to play that game on PC unless you buy it from Steam, which then you bought it twice still. So the normal issue that Oculus has. And moreover, the OS, like I've reiterated in multiple videos now, it's not the greatest. It is an Android based, which actually got confirmed. I looked it up and it is based off of Android. And so it is a little weird that they're trying to make a standalone product and using Android as a basis rather than trying to create something from the ground up and optimize it for the hardware they're on. They're kind of trying to behave like an Apple or a Google as a first-party product, but it's not, because you're running an operating system that's not in your control as much. So yes, they have some control because it's forked and everything, so they have their own copy of Android. But the biggest problem will be is that they have to do a lot of work to get that optimized, as Android is obviously made for phones and not for VR first. So that's a weird little thing that they could improve on if they choose to dive down through and maybe optimize Android a little bit more to the headsets that they use. Since they have a closed ecosystem that they don't have to worry about extra hardware being out there, they only have the Quest 1 and 2, and I think that they've decommissioned the Quest 1 anyways, so they will actually just have a limited set of hardware they have to worry about, so they don't have to worry about every edge case of just random hardware coming out. But with that said, it is a great experience. It is kind of not what you expect from someone trying to dive in directly into standalone headset territory, though. I feel like other companies are going to come through, like maybe Valve or PlayStation potentially. I could see them doing it a little bit better, where they have more experience of making things that are dedicated devices, like PlayStation has with their handhelds, and Valve has coming out with their Steam Deck, as well as they already have a VR headset. So, and Steam, since they make that as well, obviously that works on Windows and Linux and Mac. So it does try to adapt to the operating system it's on, but they can make a standalone version, which they are doing through Linux, and actually optimize it really well. And that might be what they do with their VR headset if it is standalone. But let's go ahead and get back to the Oculus and talk about what happens when you play games and try to download stuff or do anything. Any type of background task, it's not meant to do that, and I find that to be a problem, as there are some background tasks that run while you're playing games. I saw a lot of flickering and stuttering, which wasn't during a download either, so it is very inconsistent on when it actually works really well or if it doesn't. And so that they have a lot of that they can do to try to optimize and maybe killing tasks in the background as like a software fix to make it so that the game just runs and that's it. I'm not exactly sure what they can do around that, as downloads are kind of necessary. Maybe throttle it or give you options to throttle the download or to stop downloads while you're playing, and then it re-picks up the download after you're done playing. I did mention this on the original video of my first thoughts. It's still a problem. I find that that's probably one of the biggest problems software-wise after the fact that you've bought in the games. Once you buy a game, the problem is that it doesn't warn you when you're turning it off, like I've mentioned before, or anything like that. And this is a second-gen product, so they already had one. We're a little bit into this now. I feel like that's something that should have been added, but I could see them, maybe they're gonna start coming out with more paid options for software or something like that, where they can give you more of a premium OS and you have to pay for it. I'm not sure, or maybe an Oculus Pro line where it has more features and hardware. So let's start talking about the hardware. So obviously I would pay more for the better hardware, but with the hardware that's in it, so the SoC, the system on a chip that is in it, actually came out with it, and it is still not great. It is downclocked because of the location that it's in. I'm pointing to this, by the way, because it's in this headset. It doesn't have a lot of fan locations, so it's kind of being throttled, and part of that throttling is actually the battery, because this only has a 2 to 3 hour battery life. That's with it throttling one of the biggest cores that's on the SoC, and so I wouldn't want to know what the battery life would be without that throttling being there. It'd probably not be standalone at all. You're always plugged in. And what I'm seeing, that the GPU on the actual system as well is not as good as even like a 9 or a 10 series NVIDIA card, which is like minimum for VR on PC. Maybe there's some give and take on that because it's only running Android and it's a little bit less of a demanding system that it's running on, and not like Windows, where that Windows will take some of that. So maybe that's actually a benefit. But with all the system on a chip things said, there's still the RAM, which is only 6 gigs. And that's okay because of the system on a chip not being good, but if they're going to upgrade the system on a chip as well, their SoC, I keep saying system on a chip all the way out. With the SoC being better, they need to upgrade the RAM as well, and maybe they'll do that with like a Pro or a 3. And the screen is really well done for resolution. It only needs 90 hertz, so that's kind of interesting that they allow more than that, but that just means that it's going to be better at keeping it from stuttering and stuff. And I noticed that mostly when I had it plugged into a PC, it wasn't stuttering as much, but standalone it was pretty stuttery. And I think that something else they bring in is putting in some like type of FreeSync so that the screen isn't refreshing differently than the system or the SoC, and be able to kind of keep those in sync would be nice. And I think hardware wise, the biggest omission is the fact that there is no SD card slot. And I would expect that. I mean, they did increase the actual memory that they give you, 128 or 256, because it was originally the 64 gig was the bottom, and then it went up to 128, I believe, or 256. I'm not sure 100% on that, but an SD card slot, which is running Android, so it can just, pretty much use an SD card slot. Every Android phone for the longest time had one. And so it's kind of weird that they didn't add one in this, and maybe that's something they'll add in the future when they start reducing other aspects of it and be able to actually add that, or they'll just get enough memory on it that they don't see as a problem. 256 is a decent amount. I didn't actually fill this up, so I'm not actually able to know if it like slows down if it does get too full, but it would just be easier to have the SD card slot, so you can just offload it on that rather than having it directly on the system. And maybe on nice consoles, they usually let you move the SD card between systems, so you could actually have multiple of these and be able to move SD cards between each system as you need, and maybe copy between different SD cards and stuff like that. Just adds a little bit extra to it if you can have an SD card slot. And so for the most part, I think that the hardware is what really limits the system for me, as I do want the best VR experience I can get, and this, I don't believe the Oculus Quest 2 is the best experience you get. It is the best overall experience, since you don't have to worry about wires, you don't have to worry, it's very convenient, it's, very nice to have. It's kind of a Wii version is what I'm starting to think of it as. I used the Nintendo Switch as an example before, but I think it's more of like a Wii. They're trying to go for the main people and not the gaming community directly, if that makes sense. they're going for the people that are just using it to work out, the people that are not really playing games. And yeah, they're trying to get the game community as well, but they're going to get a lot bigger community around it if they don't push it directly for games only and try to add in the workout experience and other experiences to it. And I'm looking more for a all-in-one or standalone system that would be more like a 360 or PS3, where it's all about the games. It's not really about anything else besides the games, and so the game experience is so much better than it would be on this headset. So that was my thoughts around the hardware of it, and let me know down in the comments if you guys have any opinions on the software or the hardware. And so I'm gonna start talking about pricing and how that all breaks apart. So you can buy a Quest 2 right now for $299 or $399 USD, and you get 128 or 256 gig respectively. And that's a little weird to me that they don't sell the system itself, you know, there, just by itself, as they do sell these individually left and right for $69. Nice. But that's extremely a lot to me for this controller, as well as the original strap that they have is also $25 or $49 for the Elite strap, whereas the one that I have on here, which is somewhere between 45 and 52 is what I can see online, and I feel like that's a better idea to get than the replacement main or original strap. Not a good idea. And the Elite, I don't know, I've never used it. And there's also the Oculus Cable, which is $79, but you can buy the Anchor one, which I was using, for $32.99, at least currently. And so it's kind of a weird breakdown, because when you try to buy everything but the headset for replacement parts, it winds up being around $157, give or take, and that doesn't include the actual main headset part, and you can't buy that separately, so that's kind of weird. But PlayStation doesn't do that. They sell theirs in a bundle with a game, so you're getting a little bit more and you're paying the same price as it when it first came out with no games. So it is kind of a give and take there, and you need to buy a PS4 if you have PSVR, whereas you don't need anything for this. So there's some give and take there. And then I have an Index, which has probably the best configuration of how you can buy things. You can buy a full kit, and that's $1,000, which seems like a lot, but you get controllers, the base station, and the headset, which you can buy separately as well. You can buy the headset for $500, or the controllers for I think $280, and then base stations are $150 each. And even if you do that and you assemble the kit, you wind up paying $76 more if you don't buy the kit and you buy them all separately. But at least you have the option of doing that in case you don't need certain parts of it. They have another kit that doesn't come with the base stations, because the first generation base station will work with the headset and the controllers, so you don't get as good tracking because they improve the tracking, but maybe you can upgrade those later on down the road. And I feel like that's something that they don't really think about when you're talking about maybe a $300 system like the Quest is. And if they were to raise the price, I think they should worry about more, you know, buying separate parts. And repairability, I think, is kind of part of it as well. Yes, the Index is not as great repairability wise as the Quest, but you can't buy certain things on the Quest either that you potentially can with the Index. And they're talking about maybe coming out with more repairability parts for the Steam Deck, so maybe they'll do that same thing with the Index or the next Index. So it's just thoughts for how to improve the Quest line and be able to repair it a lot more. And just a little side note that the Index also comes with Half-Life Alyx, and that's the only way you're going to be able to play that. But it comes with it for free, so you're getting a game on top of it, just like the PSVR. Pretty much the summary of my experience with the Quest 2 is that you have other options if you own consoles or PC. If you own PS4 or PS5, then buy a PSVR. If you own a PC, buy some type of PC headset. I wouldn't recommend buying a Quest 2, at least how it is right now, And if you have some other way of playing VR games, this is the only way you're going to play VR, that's great. Buy one. That's awesome. I don't see the reason to, if you're really into gaming and you already have a PC or a PlayStation 4 or 5. I wouldn't recommend buying the Quest 2 for those users, but I do get the idea that it's all in one, and some people like that. I am not one of those, sadly, but I will stick with my Index and maybe upgrade when Valve comes out with a new one, or if another one catches my eye. But that's all I got for today's video. Let me know down in the comments what you guys think about the Quest 2. And like this video if you liked it, dislike if you don't. Hit the subscribe button and turn bell notifications on so you get notified when we upload new videos, as well as when we go live. I've been streaming on this channel now for a couple months. And there's all other types of links down in the description as well for Twitter, Discord, a bunch of other things you can check out down there, as well as affiliate links, and we'll get a kickback if you guys buy anything that says affiliate link on it. And again, thank you JBrat for letting me borrow the system and all the accessories, and thank you guys for watching this video, and I'll see you guys in the next one.